Well, thank you very much, Gary, for that very kind and generous introduction. And I just want to say a few things about Gary and the Friends of Wind. You know, Gary, you have helped bring facts to a discussion and a debate in which there are too often too few facts. It's important for the future of our country, our province, for the health of our families, the health of our communities, that we have a discussion about energy on the basis of facts, and the breath of fresh air that Friends of Wind and others have brought has been extremely important. That ground level, what's really happening, community organizations coming together to speak truth to those who don't like the power. Thank you very much, Gary, for you and Friends of Wind and your dedication. Delighted to be here with CanWEA, with all of you. CanWEA, I want to thank you for your advocacy, for your advice to government, for the great perspective that you bring as we attempt to meet the energy needs of the people of the province of Ontario in a way that is best on so many levels. And I'm delighted to be here with industry leaders not only from Ontario, but from across the country, representatives from Quebec, Prince Edward Island, and around the world. I am delighted to be here with you this morning. I just want to address three things if I could. First, facts. Two, second, sustainability. And third, where are we and where we're going? The facts. I thought it was fascinating that a press conference was held some months ago about a study into wind power just downwind in the airshed of a coal-fired generating station and across a lake and a river in the airshed from a lot of coal-fired power, and not once was that issue raised. I thought it fascinating. You know, in 2003, not only did we not have enough power, regular brownouts for families and businesses, a blackout that we had in August, diesel generators in communities, but we were generating a quarter of our power from coal. A quarter of our power in the province of Ontario, it had doubled over the previous 8 years. A quarter of our power from a source that we know dirties the air, dirty air makes people sick. In fact, hundreds of thousands of people were suffering illnesses as a result of dirty air. Many smog days. And not only does that affect their health, affect business productivity, because sick people are not as productive if they go to work at all, but it was costing $4 billion a year for the taxpayer to deal with those illnesses. Those are the facts. We are 95% out of coal and will be completely out of coal by the end of 2014. Those are the facts. And our commitment as we're getting out of that very substantial coal-fired generating capacity is to replace it with clean, green electricity, of which wind and solar and bio are important parts. In fact, we've gone from, well, about several dozen megawatts worth of capacity in 2003 to over 2,000 megawatts today. And there's much more in the pipeline yet to be hooked up. Our commitment to clean and green has been strong from the time the Premier made an announcement on a rooftop in London, Ontario in 2003, and I was standing beside him, that we were getting out of coal. Now, at the time, I'm not sure anybody knew how challenging that would really be. And at the time, I'm not sure the path was as clear as it is today. But the commitment has never wavered. Has never wavered. And by the end of 2014, we will be able to say, as probably the only jurisdiction anywhere, we're actually out of coal. Not putting it on standby, not pretending. Out. Those are the facts. And why is this good for communities? Well, I've spoken to the health effects. Fewer smog days, many fewer illnesses, much money saved as a result of fewer illnesses, improved environment. But we have addressed that issue in a way that supports jobs in the province of Ontario. And the feed-in tariff approach that we adopted in the heart of the worst recession since the 1930s was adopted in Ontario so we could not only accelerate getting out of coal, we could not only accelerate bringing on wind energy and other clean green sources, that we could do it in a way that would establish a strong industry and jobs here in the province of Ontario, improve the health of Ontarians, improve the economic outlook of Ontarians. Not long ago, I was in a facility in Brantford that had opened up just a few months ago. And you'll excuse if I use the wrong terms. They were building the hub through which the blades were going to be inserted. Almost 40 people employed there. 5 months ago, none. In a facility that had been empty for a decade. And they were inserting the cap with the electronics, the cap from a facility in the Hamilton area, the electronics from a Toronto facility. And that wind turbine was going to use frames from Port Colborne. And the tower could be sourced in the province of Ontario at CS Wind. And it was going to be taken down to the Chatham-Kent area and erected in one of 2 wind farms with tradespeople, electricians, laborers, on land that was prepared, in a facility that was designed and engineered, all of which, or much of which, was sourced here in the province of Ontario. Those are good jobs for Ontario families that provide sustainable incomes, and at the end of it all, they bring clean, green electricity to provide a cleaner source of energy for our power grid. That really is building a strong economy here in the province of Ontario. But we don't stop there. We haven't stopped there. We've used clean, green sources of energy and the opportunities they bring not just to build the domestic industry, but also as a platform in which we can develop and innovate and experiment with smart grid, smart meters, and the value that that technology brings. It all goes together. It all goes together, and we're developing expertise here in the province of Ontario with our implementation of smart meters and our experimentation and innovation with smart grid applications. Expertise that people from all over the world are coming to take a look at, expertise that will be developed here so we can design, innovate, create the products that then we can experiment or export around the world. If you want to know where the jobs of the future are going to be, well, one of the key sources is in green. The world's going greener. We all know that. The market for green within a decade is going to be trillions of dollars every year. If you want the jobs of the future, you want to be part of that market. We're determined to be leaders in green. There are no jobs for followers. You've got to be leaders, and Ontario is determined to be a leader in green, and wind power is part of that leadership. Now, we started out with a feed-in tariff approach, and yes, we've had a review of the feed-in tariff approach. And I know it's not been instantaneous. I caught that. It's not been as fast as we would like. But at the heart of the review is what you all stand for, which is sustainability. You want an industry, and we want a power source that is sustainable. And as the Friends of Wind know, building sustainability in part requires house-to-house, business-to-business, steady, progressive contact. You cannot build a sustainable approach to anything if you have constant, continuous, and building lack of acceptance around this province. It was our determination to make sure that we could place our very strong feed-in tariff approach on a long-term sustainable footing. So in the course of the feed-in tariff review, we have emphasized through the point system community participation, municipal support, Aboriginal participation, as ways of building community acceptance, as you saw in the video from Wolf Island. We had 3 different motions in the fall of 2011 in the legislature to scuttle parts of the green energy approach. We've had none in 2012. Building community acceptance, working at the ground level, making sure we can place these opportunities on a sustainable basis is extremely important for the health of your industry and for the health of the province of Ontario. And that takes time, far more time than you think it's going to, far more time than anyone might like, but it's important to get it right because we're in it for the long term. We have very aggressive commitments out to the end of 2018 that we're now going to hit in 2015. And we're going to review those commitments to decide what the long term should bring. And so here's where we are and where we're going. We're committed to green energy. We always have been. We continue to be. We're committed to wind energy. We always have been. We continue to be. We're committed to an approach that builds jobs in the province of Ontario and delivers clean energy to the people of Ontario. Have been, continue to be. We're going to be opening up the large fit window in 2013. We were committed to that, and we're going to continue with that. The small fit window, and I know it doesn't affect many in here, will be opened up shortly. Will be opened up shortly. We are committed to an approach that will bring on clean green energy. Now you say, why didn't we open it up a lot earlier? Well, remember what all of you have experienced. When we started with the feed-in tariff approach, we had no idea it would be, in the heart of the worst recession since the 30s, be as enthusiastically received as it was. That's good news. But it also meant that we had a huge number of contracts sitting in a queue. So many we weren't able to move them. It was very slow and frustrating. So the first determination we had as we undertook the review was to find ways of expediting the review process, give people answers faster, get to the issues, resolve the issues. If an issue can't be resolved, I'd rather tell you up front, early, than have you sit in a queue for years. So we resolved to address this long queue of contracts, work with the fellow ministries, develop a renewable energy approvals process that could give answers faster, and we're doing that. That's working. We're getting to the end of the approvals process much faster now. But it was very important to deal with the queue at the same time we were resolving a broadened community acceptance piece before we opened up windows. Make sure we got the approach as good as it can get. And the small fit window is one of the ways of doing that. It will take out many of the applications that didn't need to be sitting alongside many of yours. And that will free up resources to deal with the issues that we all need to deal with in a much more expedited basis. You start with the facts, you broaden community understanding and deepen acceptance. You stand firm in your commitment, and you have an industry based on clean, green, and a source of energy that's been around for centuries and before. It was here before, it's here now, it'll be here in the future as a great source of clean, green power for the people of the province of Ontario. Thank you so much for your commitment. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for this morning. Thank you.